Hello, my name's Alexis Zaluski, and I'll be telling you a little bit about my story. I grew up in New Britain, Connecticut, and when I was around 13 years old, my father had been incarcerated, leaving my mother a single mom of three. We were in and out of hotels for a few months until we ended up living with my grandmother and my uncle in New Britain. There was six of us living inside the house, in which was a very small space, and it was a very hard and stressful environment. My uncle, for several years, was a father figure in my life as well as my sister and brother. Once he passed away in 2010, I realized that my mother was the only person that I was able to look up to, and watching her work three different jobs every day, being able to provide for us, opened my eyes as a younger child. No matter the circumstances, my mother always made sure that all three of her children were happy, healthy, and always had a roof over their head. As I was growing older, I started becoming more interested in volleyball and no longer interested in the expenses of being a horseback rider in competition. My mother always supported every other idea that I had, or if I was interested in something else, she would try and find any way possible to be able to provide and make me happy and trying to be in that specific hobby. When I first started high school, I didn't always really look at what my mother always did and what she sacrificed for all three of her kids until she was stressed, and sometimes she would just become frustrated. And I never understood why until I did grow older. It was my junior year of high school when my mother finally was able to get her own home due to finally being able to fight and found the right connections to get a better job, and it did justice to our family. This opened my eyes just in general due to the fact watching my mother go through so many different things emotionally, physically, and being able just to come together and not put that stress on her children and not stress anybody out around her. Just being able to keep her composure and just telling herself over and over that she can do it, she can do it, she can do it, and she finally did. That was my biggest eye opener once I started understanding and comprehending everything that was going on, not only in my own life and how stressed I was due to sometimes my mom not being able to get me what I want, or not being able to bring me here, or not being able to bring me there due to being a single parent. It finally opened up my eyes that my mother did everything for me. With this being said, we were able to finally be able to have pets because most of my life I got rid of two dogs. But once we moved into this home a few months later, we were able to finally get our first dog, which was a pit bull, and he's shown on the right. And a few months later, we were able to rescue another one. And later that summer, they were conceiving, and that's where the two puppies in the middle are coming from. So now currently we do have four dogs. My strengths that I gained during this process of watching my mom go from struggling to finally being where she wants to be and being finally happy about her life was, while growing up during this process, was noticing that being independent was okay. Independence was very important to my mom. She never had to rely on anybody. She always relied on herself. It was never anything that had to do with anyone. Other strengths that I also progressed as just becoming a young adult in a situation like this was that to never give up. giving up was just too easy. Watching my mom go through so much in such long periods of time, even short periods of time, things that would just come and go, whether it just felt like karma, even though it wasn't. Just being able to watch her literally just take 5 steps back and be able to hurry up and just run 10 steps forward, it just showed me that I should never give up on myself, that there are always there's always opportunities to something that happens, that you should always learn from mistakes, and that there may be big bumps in the road, but there's always a way to go around them. With this, I feel that as when I finally went to college, that I was able to do it. I was the first one in my family to become a college student because my mother and my father had no college credits, no college experience. My mom actually stayed back in high school and didn't graduate on time. So when I entered college, it was a very different experience for me. No one in my family knew anything about it. My mom was learning even how to do FAFSA because she didn't even have to do it when she was younger, and everyone else in my family had no idea what that was. Being able to have my mother also help me out with financial aid, as well as even offering to pay for my college, it was very, very great to have. Um, as I entered college, I actually continued playing volleyball for Bay Path University until it came down to a choice if I wanted to keep working and being able to save for a vehicle, or keep playing volleyball and staying on campus. With this being said, I did start choosing to work more, and I finally was able to get the car that I wanted and was able then to become a commuter, which I started to become a commuter my sophomore year. My junior year, I actually became pregnant, in which my mom was also very supportive. She told me that she would help me get through it all as long as I stick to having 2 jobs, as well as staying in school and keeping my grades up. My daughter is now 1.5 years old, and I'm actually graduating this year in actually 2 weeks. And having that strength of having the support from my mother, and also being able to look back and notice that my mother was able to do it without college, and she was able to do it without having my father around, and only having my grandmother to help her babysit my sister and brother. I actually look up to her the most. She is actually my biggest hero I could probably ever have, and she will continue to be. Every time I have a problem, I always have somebody to talk to. I always have someone to lean on when things get rough. I also have somebody to sit there and listen to when I finally succeed. So, her being able to build me and show me and have that guidance as I was a young child actually has brought me to be the young, strong mother that I am today. I think the biggest meaning in my life is actually just being very outgoing, being able to always look outside the box, always having that perspective of the ifs, ands, or buts, but also never taking anyone for granted, or never judging somebody by their cover, because you never know what someone may be going through. Like my mother, for instance, she never showed how stressed she was, what she was going through, what she felt on the inside. She always presented herself very well. So my meaning of life is to always keep your head high, to always value family, value your parents, or value anyone that supported you since you were a young child, I think is very important. So, what makes me feel happy, confident, motive, and successful, I think, is more watching myself be able to progress the way that I want to. That no matter what comes my way, I'm always able to just take a step back, breathe, and figure out another way to get around that to be able to get to the next step that I need to be at.